Hello and welcome to today's episode of Business Spotlight, where we are joined by Stephen Start of Banner Lane. Stephen, how are you?
Very good, thanks, Hannah. How are you?
I'm good. I'm really good, thank you. Feeling festive with a Christmas jumper on today.
Yeah, nice.
Excellent. I'm going to dive straight in, Stephen, as I promised. So tell us what you do and how long you've been doing it for, please.
Great. So I'm an executive search consultant. I run Banner Lane. We're a defence and security executive search company. I've personally been in executive search and recruitment for the last 8 years, and I've ran Banner Lane for the last 4.5 years or so. So we specialise in recruiting mid to senior level talent for a range of different defence contractors. Most of that work is conducted in the UK, and we'll recruit across functions, whether that be operations, logistics, supply chain, sales, and business development. But we also do have a strong cornerstone in what we call embedded engineering. So whether that be embedded software, firmware, development, RF hardware, that kind of stuff. So it's I suppose high technology recruitment within the UK's defence sector.
Amazing. Gosh, really fascinating and a really high energy industry with recruitment. What motivated you to start the business?
I suppose I've always wanted to run a business, and I thought kind of strategically after I left university what I wanted to get into. I thought I wanted to get into something that would, I suppose, sort of make an impact on businesses, give me access to talk to a whole range of people. I think in recruitment, you're not going to do very well if you don't like people. So having conversations, learning stories, influencing, persuading, and ultimately selling a service as well that could come with a decent margin. So I got a job within an executive search consultancy. I worked there for 5 years, and I said to myself at the start, look, if I'm still loving this after 5 years, then I should definitely set up my own. And if perhaps I'm not, I'll go into something else. And 5 years on, absolutely loved it. Managed to build myself up a buffer to be able to sort of launch myself. It was COVID as well. COVID sort of struck, and that was a sort of difficult period for us all, really. But it was a great impetus. And I spoke to one of my mentors, and he said, "Look, now is the time to start if you're ever going to start." So I always wanted to start it. It gives you ultimately, you master your own destiny. You're able to create something from scratch, which is an amazing feeling, and it gives you so many freedoms and choices as well. I think importantly, Hannah, for me anyway, so I speak to loads of professionals out there in the marketplace, and some of the biggest grumbles that they get from their work is lack of autonomy. They can't make the changes that they see or the positive improvements they see within a business. They feel like a small cog within a large machine. Perhaps their boss doesn't recognize them in the way that they want to, or it's a job just to keep food on the table. They don't really feel like they're financially free, and they don't have like a lack of freedom. I've worked long hours in jobs, and you come home and you're tired. So ultimately having that side gig, yeah, it's great, but it's not always, it's difficult to do. So setting up a business just gives you, suddenly you've got 24/7 to go out there and go find your dreams and harness your energy.
Do you find that when you're working for somebody else, you mentioned there about sort of not being able to make those sort of critical changes and feel like you haven't got a voice. When you've got your own business, and you've got sort of 24 hours in a day, 168 hours, you tend to work more. You tend to want to find the solution for the next things, and you move a lot faster.
Yeah, I think that if you're running a business that you're really passionate about, then you're kind of always going to be on it. So you're always going to be thinking about it. And there's that time when you'll be in your house, or you'll be on a dog walk, or you'll be just out with friends or in the car, and you'll be thinking about your business and strategizing, and you'll be doing that all the time. You also don't tend to, you don't schedule your annual leave as you would normally do. But there are loads of different mechanisms and tactics that you can adopt really to make sure that you are sort of keeping a healthy balance of life as well.
Yeah, that entrepreneurial sort of spirit, it's electric, isn't it? Has it been everything you hoped it would be starting your business at a time where it was
Tough.
really tough? Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I'd say it's been more than what I expected for and hoped for. So I suppose for me, some of the best things have been, clearly being able to, like I said, be the master of your own destiny, and build a business how you want it to be built. I think one of the most powerful things is actually affecting the life of others as well. So whether that might be employing people, giving them a good, interesting role to do, or genuinely, lifting people out of difficult situations as well. And that could just be by, donating money to things, or donating your time to stuff as well, or just having the bandwidth during the day to say, right, I'm going to help you with your business, or I'm going to help learn and develop you as a person. You see that person grow. That gives like a huge amount of satisfaction to me personally as well. And we've, it started off with myself. We've now got 3 people in the team, and each of them have never done recruitment before, but they've learned those skills over time, and that's been amazing. It sort of really fosters that close or collaborative working style. And that for me has been the biggest point. And then having that freedom and flexibility to start, you're curious about some other industry or some other business model, you can actually spend time looking at that, rather than just focusing solely on one thing, which you would otherwise usually do if you're an employed job.
Yeah. How do you keep it varied for your employees, for your team?
I think it's about it's about recognizing what they're good at, and giving them the opportunity to succeed within that, but also giving them some of the flexibility to get involved in other tasks. I pick up a lot of the work that perhaps people don't necessarily want to do. So I feel like when it's your business, you need to motivate others by giving them things that they can be successful within, and then also giving them opportunities to go travel to places, to take relationships with clients. I think some people in businesses, they want to try and keep everything to themselves. They don't trust everybody to do anything, but you're never gonna grow as a company if you don't take a risk on people. And also you'd be surprised what people can do, and how differently they look at things and what they can deliver if you give them that opportunity and chance to do that. I think that's so important.
It's so important. It's so important. So recruitment, what do you do that makes you stand out in that industry?
I suppose recruitment as a whole is a massive industry. It generates something like £25 billion a year, for UK economy, or maybe that's the global economy. In terms of where we are, where we are sort of particularly strong, it's obviously specifically in a niche defence sector. So there's not many recruitment companies that you'll come across that just have a single focus in a single sector. And what that enables us to do is get to know all of the senior stakeholders, well, not all of the senior stakeholders, a number of the senior stakeholders within that sector, and become experts in that field as well. So we understand the language, and it's quite, when you start to talk about sort of ex-military people or military language or different military programs, it can become quite complex. So having that deep niche focus is really important to us. We don't, we've turned down work outside of that niche. And then also, I think, and many companies may say this, but we are absolutely dedicated to our clients. You've got to be absolutely customer obsessed. You've got to love the products. You've got to love the people, and you've got to be, you've got to drop everything to make sure that they're happy and be delighted with the service you're providing. And the same comes to candidates as well. So, these people are that, it's about their career. So you've got to make sure that they are making the right step as well. And you've got to make sure that you're delivering a 5-star service. My family background's in hotels, and that customer service drive is so important to me. If a candidate is ringing me for an update, I haven't done my job properly. So you need to be there delivering that perfect service for them, and it needs to be really consistent. So we're super hot on that, and we would rather deliver a fantastic service to a client rather than make money. Obviously, you got to make money, but we'd put that above making money, to be honest with you, because that's what generates over time return customers. 95% of our work's with return customers, and we're at full capacity. So it's we're in a good spot, and that's because I think of that dedication to the customers that we've got.
I love seriously obsessed. I love the fact that you're obsessed with customer service. You mentioned there around turning work down. How did you set your boundaries? Was that from the off?
Not specifically right from the off, because you've got to, you've got to make money, especially to begin with. You've got to get some money, some revenues in. So I started working for a logistics firm that I knew of through a friend. I did a couple of jobs with those guys, and that kind of gave me a bit of capital to be able to run and focus more of my time in the defence sector. I was still focusing 80% of my time alongside that, Simon, on the defence sector itself. And then since then, if they're not providing some kind of service or product into a defence environment, and that could be somewhere like a GCHQ, or it could be some kind of military customer, then we're just not interested. And it's because we don't want to dilute our offering. And also, if I was working in FMCG, I can't get excited about Kellogg's. I can't get excited about that stuff. I need to think this is cool. This is, and also the technology's got to be interesting as well for us. We've got to, because ultimately we are representing our clients out there in the market. So if we're not singing from their hymn sheet, then we're not a good representative of them. And people can tell if you're being genuine or not.
I agree. I think they can.
Definitely.
Yeah. So niching and understanding what excites you.
Yep.
I heard sort of loud and clear there. What else would you attribute your growth to?
I think, so yeah, you're absolutely right. I think niche focus, I think generating return customers, understanding how to generate return customers as well. So being customer obsessed, I'd say I touched on that in terms of valuing your reputation more than money, because that your reputation, especially when you're not providing a product, when you're providing a service, is absolutely imperative. You're dealing in a relatively small market. Okay, there are a set number of companies, and usually if you're servicing an industry, people move around in those industries. It's that old adage of it takes years and years to build a reputation, but seconds to destroy it.
Yeah.
And it will just crash. And in terms of that piece, it's a lot easier to get revenue out of existing customers as well. So having a great reputation is really, really important, and we really value ours. And with that, then I suppose hand in hand with that is a conservative approach. So we're not about, which is quite interesting. In other parts of my business life, I do take outsized risks, but within Banner Lane and within this particular industry, I'm quite conservative. So it's about bringing on the right people with the right attitude. It's about picking the right customers. It's not about pouring money into something. It's about taking measured growth. I've seen other companies that will either leverage up, or they'll do particularly well. They'll invest all of that capital back into the business. They'll hire poorly. They're then run ragged. And the business suffers, the quality of service goes down. So I think having that nice conservative, steady approach, and the people that you invest into as well. And then, to be honest with you, outside of work, having they say that 70% of your success is down to a spouse or partner outside of work. Having somebody in my life like I do, I'm so lucky to, who I can discuss ideas with, strategies with, and who's constantly encouraging and is your biggest supporter, is absolutely pivotal as well to growing that business in a good way.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing that, because that is something that a lot of business owners don't share, is that sort of where they get their outside counsel. I just want to touch on something that you said there around valuing your reputation as your team grows, and you take your conservative approach about growing the team sort of consistently and steadily. But how do you imprint the importance of valuing reputation to new members of the team, to your current members of team, and as you go? What's the secret there?
I would say, in my perspective, perhaps I don't have enough experience to say the absolute secret of it, but I could imagine that that first of all, it's important to recognize in those people similar traits that you have. So you might be a kindred spirit in some kind of way, in terms of they love business, they love growing things. They may just have personal attributes or attributes of loyalty. I'm so lucky to have that in my team. They might also have, you could give them some kind of skin in the game, some kind of sweat equity in that business, so they feel part of the business. Having worked for other businesses, you can feel very, very passionate about that brand, and that is amazing. And it's very important when they feel passionate about that to capture that and retain that, because that can wax and wane. So I think it's really about treating people. A business is made up of its people. It's not me. It's the people that support around it. It's the brand, and that having that as a cohesive team and recognizing that is absolutely pivotal. So I think the culmination of those kind of ideas, I suppose.
Yeah, no, that's an amazing share. You mentioned there about spice, a spouse, 70% of your success coming from outside counsel. How do you balance the personal life with the demands of running a business? How do you balance those?
Well, so I think Hannah, I think it's important because I've done some introspective thinking into this, and for me, it's about understanding what success is.
Mhm.
So some people think I was having a flash car, big house, successful career, but actually success can be a lot simpler than that. And the way that I think about it and thought about it in my sort of recent career is about buckets. So I have in my mind sort of 5 buckets that I look at, and ultimately the sort of the water is that I pour into those buckets is my time, and I have a pump in terms of my energy to get that water out of the ground. Okay, it's a simple example, but those 5 buckets being sort of financial and business, friends, family, uh, and then intellectual, cultural, sort of philosophical, sort of spiritual bucket, and a health bucket. So if you're just focused on business, and I've met many executives who have got fantastic careers, they're earning £300,000-400,000 a year, they're flying all over the world, and you think you must be so happy, but they've got no friends. Their family is very disjointed, and their health isn't great. That's not success. So having a measured approach to that and thinking, okay, with my time in my day, I'm going to put some into my business. I'm going to put some into my friends. I'm going to make that trip. I'm going to go invest in my friendships. I'm going to go drive and go have that coffee with them, or go have that beer with them. I'm going to go for a jog. Or I'm going to ring my mum. I'm going to see how she is. I'm going to ring my grandfather and see how he is. And then in terms of that intellectual bucket as well, because sometimes you can get so focused on your work, is actually thinking, well, you know what, turn off the TV, turn off my phone, get a newspaper, get a magazine, read something, or listen to a podcast about physics or something interesting that's going to set you, that's going to essentially help actually relax your brain. Some people choose church, some people choose meditation, these types of things. So I think, but just being conscious of them is the first step. You don't need to actually action them, but just think, how am I spending my time? And when you do that, balance comes.
Mm. I'm literally picturing 5 buckets.
Yeah,
And
great.
that's such a great way of looking at it. It's a really physical way. I can feel the energy that it takes to pump the water, and how full are my buckets.
Yeah,
Do
you
you?
don't want to be overfilling. It's like a pail, is it? You don't want to be splashing over, but you don't want to be empty. So everyone knows it just needs to be, yeah, a good level.
Yeah, and I almost feel like they some sort of feed into like champagne at a wedding where it all kind of falls down.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
feel
yeah,
like
yeah.
some buckets kind of top up others. Do you take time to reflect on where your energy is? So understanding that there is the need for the balance, but do you once a quarter or once a week sort of think, okay, purposefully think about how this week looks or how this month looks? Any reflection?
I'm not a huge I'm not a huge planner, so I don't
Okay.
put times into my diary and say this is when I'm going to do it. I kind of just know, if I've said, right, I've been in my office for, just focused on work for 2 days, that's not good. I need to go out and see a friend for an hour. I need to go take the dog for a walk. I think you just kind of know, and you also know, if you're not putting enough time into work as well, or if you're not expanding your mind, and you think, wait a minute, when was the last time I actually read something interesting that wasn't about work, or that wasn't social media or something? So you just get that, because it's a constant thing, life, isn't it? So it's just about having that sort of inner balance, and you sort of feel it, I think.
Yeah, intuition, listen to your body,
Yeah, that's
absolutely.
it.
Yeah. What would you say, Stephen, has been your biggest learning so far?
I think so. I thought about this one. The biggest learning is probably that things are possible, that it's possible. That's probably my biggest learning. So when you're in a job, and I've had this before, obviously, is you look out, you think these people run these businesses, they're almost like aliens. Like, how do they do it? Like, how can they do that? Get to that point? That's not for me. I can't run a business. But actually, no, you can run a business. All you need to do is do it. I can remember sitting down on the first day, had no clients, and I was sat in my spare bedroom, and I had a laptop in front of me, and I had a phone, and I just started picking up the phone and talking to my contacts. And immediately after the first call, and I was telling them about Banner Lane, and I was telling them about what I was doing and presenting set my stall out, they recognized it, they gave it value instantly. Okay. And you do that 100 times, you've got a business. So it's about, to use sort of MLK, you don't have to see the whole staircase to see the first step, to take the first step. You just got to take the first step. And only we as people as well put limits on what we can achieve. You know, it's so self-imposed. You can do everything, but also, you know, it's a marathon, not a sprint. Don't kill yourself. Don't subject other people to hardship. Have fun is the most important thing, I think, as well. Have fun with what you're doing.
That's such an important one, to have fun.
Mm.
Business should be fun. Life should be
Yeah,
fun,
yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. Definitely,
Yeah.
definitely.
So your default is it's possible.
Yeah.
And then that's what you use to break down those limiting beliefs. Has there ever been a moment where it's been a little bit sort of touch and go as to whether you think it is, and you've had to really dig deep?
Um, I think for me, it's about understanding your key strengths as a person as well. So I'm not going to be a surgeon, okay? Because I don't really like blood. I'm not really interested in surgery, in anatomy. That's just not me, okay? So I'm not going to be good at that. I'm not going to be good at I'm not going to be a good accountant. I'm just not good at that. So it's about saying to yourself, okay, what am I good at? What do I enjoy doing? Okay, and then what is going to earn me money as well? And if you can get all those threes right, and when you, in terms of that earning money, how do you create money? I always used to think of it as, or still do, as a vacuum. You create need, and by adding value to people, and they will fill that vacuum by giving you money, essentially in exchange for a service. So if you can find those three things, you find a need, you find something you like doing, and something that you're good at, then there you go. And then underlining it all is just hard work. You just got to put in the hours.
That is the recipe for starting a business. So if anybody is
Yep, yep.
thinking about going for it, it is possible. Identify what those are and get ready to put the hard work in.
Yeah, yeah. And as long as you enjoy it and you're solving a need, then you're onto a winner.
You're on to a winner. I love it. Fabulous. I always like to end with, where do you see yourself in 5 years, Stephen? And do you have any more? You've had lots of words of advice today, but do you have any words of advice for business owners who are looking to grow?
Okay, so just to answer your first question, ultimately where I see it going is maybe sort of 3 to 5 consultants owning a building in Leamington Spa, and then potentially having a couple of other profitable businesses that make up a portfolio, just to keep it interesting as well, and to keep it adventurous and keep it exciting. In terms of words of advice, I think my advice will come to those people who are watching this and thinking, I've got some skills in an area, and I want to start up a business and I want to do it. I suppose my first piece of advice would be, like we said, Hannah, you know, find something you enjoy doing, find something you're good at, and find a need that you can solve. And then I would really encourage people to go and get some experience in that field if they don't have any experience within it. If you get that experience, then you are so much better armed to go out from day one and provide that service. You're not then going to be wasting your time as well. And to keep enjoying it ultimately. You know, if you're not enjoying it and you're not loving it, then stop and go do something else. And always, I really would encourage people to take a conservative approach, because if you have a conservative approach, then and to just in terms of cash management, then you are going, and personal cash management, then you're going to give yourself that flexibility. If you've got a month or 3 months of cash balance in your account, that just opens up a world of opportunities about what you can do. If your business is doing well, you can go and think about what you're going to do. You're not going to be in that sort of in that environment of need, or you know, where you have to go do something because you have to pay a bill.
The pressure's on. What do you
Yeah.
mean? Tell me a little bit more around sort of conservative approach. What's your meaning of conservative approach?
So I think the conservative approach is reflecting on what I've said around finding something that you're good at and finding something that you like doing and that you've got skills in already. You know, if you're going to go out and start a brand new business in a random field, so for instance, I'm going to start up a cookie factory. I've got no idea about making money. I've got no, not making money, about making cookies, and about, you know, renting large leases of land and factories. So find something that you know stuff about. That's the first important thing. And then when it comes to when you are making money, over the course of the first sort of 2 or 3 years, then invest slowly. So don't get yourself the nicest office, don't get yourself the nicest equipment, don't get yourself a brand new lease. You know, just keep your living expenses pretty low. and then use that cash balance to invest. It could just be savings accounts, or it could be other relatively stable investments. And then over time, you'll be in that position where you go, I can take on somebody. And then when you do take on that person, be really cautious about who you take on, and then invest in that person over time. That if you're making great money in like year 4, so many people are so tempted to just put all of that money back in. They spread themselves too thin, and then they set themselves up for failure. And that failure might not be their business sinks to nothing. It might just be that they stop enjoying doing what they're doing. They're more stressed out about it. There has less bandwidth to be successful. So that kind of approach to business, I think, anyway, life is long. People say life's short all the time. Life is actually pretty long. Okay, so if you set yourself on that path, you will get there over 5 years, 6, 7 years, 10 years, and you'll be in a completely different spot. I think Bill Gates said, you'll be surprised, you'll be underwhelmed perhaps where you'll be in a year, or you'll overestimate where you'll be in a year, but you'll massively underestimate where you'll be in, say, 10 years.
Yeah, I've heard that. Yeah, that's a great saying.
Yeah, it's great.
I heard 3 C's there, Stephen. So I heard conservative, being conscious with your decision, and being consistent. So that's amazing. Great share. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks, Anna.
Business Spotlight. So many takeaways. So I cannot wait to share it with our community. But for now, I shall say goodbye and hope to speak to you again soon.
Yeah, thanks, Anna. All the best. Thanks for the time today. Cheers. Bye.
Bye.